Olympic teen Dr. Larry Nassar will spend the rest of his life in prison. More than 250 women and girls, including Olympic gymnasts, accuse him of sexual abuse. We spoke to the parents of 5 of his victims. Gina and John Nichols' daughter, Maggie, was a member of the USA gymnastics team. Lisa Lorenz's daughter, Kaylee, was a club gymnast. Doug and Julie Powell's daughter, Cassie, was a pole vaulter at Michigan State University. Kyle Kaiser took her daughter, Sterling Reithman, to Nassar after she was injured. And Christy Lemke Akayo's daughter, Lindsay, was first assaulted when she was 10. Tempers erupted last week at Nassar's 3rd trial, and while the parents we spoke with are angry, they agreed the biggest priority is to change the system. You were talking about an expletive earlier, Doug.
You are a hog. A hog.
We saw Randall Margraves rush him. Did you understand where he was coming from?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. If I thought that for a second that it would have done anything positive he was from me to you. To rush him and choke him out, what good's that going to do me? What's that good was that going to do for Cassie?
We saw people in many different stages of grief. So when we saw Mr. Margraves, at least for my reaction, I was just so sad. I was just so sad that it's like, it's not my reaction, but I understood his. Because you knew in the continuum of emotions that we're all having, we've all been there.
When your daughters first told you about this, I mean, was it hard for you at first to believe them?
No.
No.
It was difficult for us. You know, we talked to our kids as they grew up, and coming from a law enforcement background and perspective, nothing ever good happens after midnight. You know, go home, don't do this, don't do this. Be conscious of what you're doing. How do you guard from a doctor? How do you put that guard in your daughter's mind? It's just saddening, it's sickening.
I don't think for us it was as much as not believing her, but not believing that something like that could have happened. I was in the room when he was doing the treatment, and he positioned them such that, I mean, I even stood up. I'm a nurse. I stood up to see what he was doing, and I said, what are you massaging right now? And he said, we just have to loosen those tendons, ligaments, muscles in that area, and that will help the scoliosis that you have in your back. Cassie told me immediately when we got in the car, she's like, I am never going back there again. I said, why? And she said, he had his hand inside me, and he talked her back into letting him do that. He made it seem like without this area adjusted, she would never be able to be the pole vaulter she wanted to be.
He had done good work with her from the age 10 to 13 as a gymnast, became a diver, broke her back as a diver, had gone several places for help, and she was home one time and I'm like, let's go to Larry. That was my moment, you know, that he'd fixed her before. So, excuse me. So when she went and had we don't even know what it is. None of us know. A broken back, a broken tailbone. So when he described what he was going to have to do, and like it'll be pretty invasive, I'm going, whatever we have to do. I want my child out of pain. If this is going to work, let's go.
What was it like knowing something was wrong?
Well, for us, it was horrible because, and for me, I'm a failure. You know, my job is to protect my baby girl, and I didn't do it. And so that's something that we're going to live with forever. We had no other choice. You know, we had to turn our daughter over to the U.S. gymnastics. We were told that we'll take care of Maggie, don't worry about Maggie. When we traveled at meets, we couldn't go to the hotel. We couldn't stay at the hotel. We could not be in any situation to help protect our daughter. We had to fully turn over trust.
Do you think that was by design?
Yes.
Yes. More than just to build these super competitors?
No question.
To what, cover up abuse?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But there's so much more to this that needs to be found out because each and every one of them are intertwined.
Senator Jeanne Shaheen said this is not a simple case of negligence or failed oversight on the part of the USOC, USA Gymnastics, and other institutions. There is ample evidence that many were alerted multiple times to Nassar's behavior, and they found excuses to look the other way.
Yeah, that's Kathy Klages and people at Michigan State who were alerted back in the 90s. And, you know, if you think about it, Lindsay would never have been abused had they taken action back at that point because she was only 2.
Not one of our daughters.
No.
When you look at this collection right here, our daughters would not have walked through those doors.
Right.
If other parents come to you and say, what should I do to make sure this doesn't happen to my daughter? What do you tell them?
Believe her, speak up.
Yep. Teach them that if something doesn't feel right, no
It's not
matter
right.
who it is, to say, I'm not comfortable with this and I need you to stop.
I think one other thing that you'd tell your daughter, you'd have to tell them, don't trust anyone. You can't trust the church. You can't trust your priest. You can't trust your coach.
doctor.
But I
You
don't know
can't-
that I don't know that I
can't touch
want
any
to
of that.
teach my daughter not to trust anybody. I think I want to arm her with the tools that when she's in a situation, like I think had I taught Kaylee to say, I am uncomfortable, that I believe at 13, she would have handled the situation differently.
I want to ask quickly about the Carollis. They've received some attention in this, but how guilty are the Carollis, do you believe?
100% guilty.
Do you think they knew?
Yes. Because to me, how could they not know?
So have the Carollis been held accountable?
No.
We know that they're being investigated. That's all we know.
Held accountable so far.
Say that again, Doug.
I feel we've had one person.
And
that's
who's
been
that?
Larry
Larry.
Nassar.
What do you want to see happen to Larry Nassar?
I don't even want to hear about Nassar.
I don't think we care. I don't care about him. He's one off
I think
the
it's
list.
more of the other people that are culpable in all of this. I think that they need to either step up and take responsibility, or it needs to be taken care of on.
That's what
you know.
Cassie said. If you could put in one hand all of those institutions, MSU, USAG, USOC, if she could put in this hand them coming to her and genuinely, you know, picking her up and giving her a hug and saying, I screwed up so bad, or our community goofed up so bad. If she had that in this hand and $20 million in this hand, she'd rather have this hand because her psyche is just different and changed and non-trusting, and that shouldn't be how we have to live.
CBS News reached out to all those the panel named. The Carollis who trained Olympic athletes at their ranch have not responded. They have said they did not know about the abuse. Michigan State University and USA Gymnastics also did not respond. They have said they did not attempt to hide Nassar's misconduct. The attorney for former MSU gymnastics coach Kathy Klages declined to comment, citing ongoing litigation. A spokesman for the U.S. Olympic Committee said they are launching an independent investigation into the decades-long abuse by Larry Nassar. And I learned so much from speaking to these parents, and all just incredible people, and their daughters are suffering so much. Abuse and the aftermath of abuse lasts a lifetime.
And because their daughters are suffering, they're suffering too. As a parent, the one thing you never want to fail at is protecting your children. And while it's not their fault, you can see how they've taken that all in.
And I have to tell you, my personal view is, you know, when you ask, is there something they could have done, the daughters or the parents, to protect their daughters? I'm not sure they could have. This man was so sick and manipulative, and the onus lies on those executives at the school and U.S. Gymnastics who knew about this for decades and should have stopped it.
The one mother who was
they
a nurse,
reported,
Norah,
the
in the
girls
room.
reported it. The girls reported the
Yes.
behavior, that they felt
They didn't
uncomfortable
listen to
about it.
But the woman who was a nurse in the room, and even she didn't know. It shows how sick he was.
And it was amazing to see the tension in, you know, you don't want to teach your children to trust no one, because then you're coming out of this, the lesson is treat everything like a barren scape of no human contact. I mean, if that's the solution, that's what's so tough about this.
But this is going to continue because more people need to be held accountable. That's the only way to make sure it doesn't happen again.
And it should continue.
Yeah.
That was really good, really good.